That city, the one usually overflowing with life and sunshine, vanished. Fear and misery were now everywhere. Citizens of the now blockaded areas experienced scarcity in resources and endless confinement, lack of jobs, and worst of all, loss of faith in a future. The few who dared leave their houses only did so while hiding their faces, and they ran, falsely believing that escaping could be the solution. Illness and death took over, like a dark cloud does to a blue sky. Then new viruses emerged: greed, selfishness, saving oneself at any cost. People neglected the elderly, and senseless hatred emerged among brothers and sisters. Sounds like it could be New York in March, or Madrid, or Rome in April, or Buenos Aires, Miami. This is a portrait of Jerusalem a few hours before the temple was destroyed by the Romans in the year 70. This is the way the Talmud described the moments before the destruction, almost as if it was the end of history. They live with the belief that there was no way out, the horror of uncertainty, the lack of a vision for tomorrow, the end of hope. However, an image cuts out the almost Dantesque scene. Two men carry a coffin to the city gates and claim to go out to bury their rabbi. The Roman soldier insisted on searching the casket, in arguing the holiness of the revered teacher that refused to have the body inspected. Hidden inside the coffin was the living Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, and he managed to get out of the blockaded holy city. Once escaped, the teacher comes before Vespasian, the Roman military commander who is about to destroy the Jewish capital, Jerusalem. The commander is impressed by the reverence, courage, creativity of the rabbi's escape. As they speak, Ben Zakkai assures the commander that he will be the next emperor of Rome. Suddenly, a messenger arrives from Rome and announces, "Arise! The emperor has died and Vespasian will be proclaimed the new emperor." Can you imagine this moment? How did the new emperor react to this news? In an act of gratitude, Vespasian grants the rabbi 3 wishes. Let's leave the story here for now. The images of that devastated city, overwhelmed with death and disease, is now sadly familiar to us. It is what we have all experienced firsthand during these never-ending months of quarantine and pandemic. But the image of the rabbi and his 2 disciples emerging alive out of the death and destruction conveys a powerful message, a seed of hope, a beam of light, the beginning of renewal, a renewal emerging from darkness. Back to the story. The emperor granted the rabbi 3 wishes. Before I share what the rabbi asked for, I ask you, what 3 wishes would you ask the King of Kings on the first day of this unique Rosh Hashanah? Like you, I know that our wishes changed dramatically in the last 6 months, haven't they? Our routines, the things that seem given, are restricted to us and are now like precious treasures. The hug of a grandchild, the opening of our school, your kid's sports game, a family Shabbat dinner, accompanying your loved one to the hospital, a basic spiritual right and need like participating in the funeral of your deceased parent taking place abroad. Missing all of those has become our very painful reality. In our city so beaten up by confinement, what are your 3 wishes? Let's see what Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai asked the new emperor for. Asvata de Mesayen lei, a doctor to cure my friends. A doctor to cure my friends. This is the first thing the rabbi asked as he observed the devastation. And this is the first thing we should ask for. Refuah Shleima. The renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, blessing of healing for all humanity. For many, the cost of COVID-19 are incredibly high. Some including many members of Bet Torah, have lost loved ones to the disease or live with the frustration of not being able to attend their parents' funeral abroad or not being by their side when hospitalized. Many have lost their jobs and are terrified about the future. Some are healthcare or other essential workers, exposing themselves to danger on a daily basis to take care of the sick or to ensure that food reaches our tables. The blessing of health in body and in spirit are our wish on this first day of the year. Healing for friends and family who are experiencing fear and pain. Healing for millions of people we don't know and will never meet. Let them feel that our first message in these high holidays is exclusively for them, those in need of healing. What are we going through makes us reevaluate what's important, rethink what's essential, re-examine our priorities and our commitments to one another. Commitments to the ones that have it worse than we do, to the ones that live on the margins of society, to those left with nothing. The coronavirus will be under control at some point, but after going through everything we experience, we don't commit ourselves to helping those who need it most, we will not have fully healed from so many other viruses. Second wish from Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai, Shoshilta de Rabban. His second request was to receive the legacy of the masters that preceded him. Ben Zakkai asked to be seen as the heir to his teachers and the carrier of their message. This is a great ask. It means carrying on the wisdom that brought him and us to this day, being carriers of the stories of our grandparents, of great-grandparents, of our immigrant ancestors who came with nothing and reinvented themselves. The family stories that we carry with pride, stories of falling and rising up again, of failures and renewal, of persecution and reunion, being heirs to something much greater than just ourselves, makes us bigger than we are, stronger than we think, with more power to accept change in this unprecedented chapter in history. Each of us carries that moment of transformation that keeps us going, even with a wounded soul. We can reflect on our world today and remain paralyzed, or we can understand that how we face our problems today will shape the story of those who will come after us. Tomorrow's Torah reading tells us the story of one of the most powerful and complex texts in the entire book, the Akedah, the almost sacrifice of Isaac by Abraham, his father. I will not analyze the text now, but I want to take a moment to share with you what the Kotzker Rabbi said about Abraham's challenge. When he was asked, what's the toughest part of the Akedah was? The rabbi said, the moment when Abraham and Isaac came down the mountain, because now they both have to live with that. We will need to live with the people we have been and are during COVID. Do you, a Jewish mother or father, grandfather or grandmother, present yourself as a person for whom other people's pain is also your own? Do you show your children and grandchildren that the future of your Bet Torah is in your hands, able to survive and thrive because of your commitment and your generosity to the cause? Do you show them that you are there to help those in need of fulfilling life cycle events and furthering their Jewish education, but who could otherwise not afford it? Do you show them that others are not alone because you are there with them, or do you expect others to do the job? The hardest part of the Akedah was coming down the mountain, because now they have to live with what happened. We too are building the legacy we will leave behind. Now, the third wish. Aveli Yavne. Give me a city. Give me the city of Yavne. Give me Yavne. First, Ben Zakkai asked for health. Then he has to be filled with the spirit and courage of his ancestors and teachers. Finally, he asked for a city, a place to start all over again. He traveled with his students to the coastal city of Yavne, and they recreated Judaism. With the destruction of the temple, Judaism was relocated to the home and the synagogue. The sacrificial system was replaced by prayer and Torah study. The Pesach sacrifice became the home-based Seder, and the daily sacrifices became the Amidah. Yes, when the temple collapsed with Jerusalem's destruction, Ben Zakkai simply asked for a place, a new opportunity, not at all like the one he previously had. Without that Yavne experience, we will not be celebrating this Rosh Hashanah today, nor will we have a DNA flexible enough to renew and adapt, and the courage and creativity to be as connected to our prayer as we are today. What is your Yavne? What new chapters are you ready to open with all that you learned about life and yourself in the last 6 months? At our finest hour during this dark chapter, many of us have found clarity in what matters and decided to rearrange our priorities. Unfortunately, retaining this clarity is extremely challenging. The Midrash says, in times of trouble, people vow. In times of relief, they return to old habits. The rabbis understand that clarity evaporates quickly if it isn't intentionally integrated into our souls. Ben Zakkai went literally to a different place. Where do you go? Your Yavne is your home. Your Yavne is your family. Your Yavne is your community. Your Yavne are your friends. And we are stronger together because of your decision not to take a year off from your commitments to Betorah. And because of Betorah's decision not to take time off from our commitments to our families. We are not leaving this morning's service empty-handed. We ask for refuah shlema and embrace humanity on the day that symbolizes the creation of humanity. We ask for courage and energy inspired in our history. And we also commit ourselves to being the ones in charge of rebuilding our own Yavne. Listen carefully, please. Today, we are making history. For centuries, different generations have had to learn to reinvent themselves in order to sustain their Judaism, facing different tragedies and paradigm shifts. This is our epic. We build the Yavne today in every home that is joining us for this tefillah. We are building a message of renewal, change, hope, trust, and continuity. Yavne is our community, the one that is 80 years old, the one that when we had to close our physical doors, built a virtual palace full of opportunities for study, prayer, and reflection. From this virtual palace, we convoked, and you came. You came to feed the hungry, to thank the first responder, to scream no to racism, to stop anti-Semitism, to express our Zionism, and we did it with your support and involvement. Yavne is our society and our country, so desperately in need of healing. And Yavne is every place around the world from where we are joining us today to restart. Yes, for the last 6 months we have experienced pain, a lot of pain inflicted by this pandemic. But we know from life experience that every one of us, sooner or later, walks through hell. The hell of being hurt, the hell of hurting another. The hell of sickness and the hell of a reluctant, thumping shovel full of earth upon the casket of someone we deeply love. The hell of betrayal, the hell of betraying, the hell of divorce, the hell of a kid in trouble, the hell of knowing that this year, like any year, may be the last in people we need and love. We all walk through hell. The point is not to come out empty-handed. There is real and profound power in the suffering we endure if we transform that suffering into a more authentic, meaningful life. According to one Midrash, only 20% of the Jews follow Moses out of Egypt. The other 80% were too habituated to their lives, too fearful of facing a challenging life in the realm of the unknown, and they disappeared. You are a descendant of that 20%. And to be one more time in the right side of history, just say yes to Rabbi Yochanan. 3 requests. Take care of your mental and physical health. Doing so, you are taking care of your neighbor too. Remember where you come from. Remember your heritage and remember that you faced difficult times before and you managed to come out stronger. And remember that your Yavne, your new tomorrow, the one you build with your own hands, is waiting for you. Those have been challenging times for a rabbi. And in the last 6 months, I am reminded why I became a rabbi in the first place. To be brought into the confidence of people's lives with their humanity at its most raw. To be given the opportunity to let Judaism's wisdom ease a person's sorrow. To be present to remind people that even when they are most isolated, they are not alone. These months have been filled with the most trying, exhausting, and rewarding moments in my American rabbinate. And I watch you perform. It is an honor to be your rabbi. May you and your loved ones be inscribed in the book of life.